Greetings in the name of the Most High. I want people to listen from the Caribbean now. Caribbean people. Listen. In the Caribbean countries, we noticed that, and there's a fact sheet, no, there's a fact sheet now, stating that we are coming down with more diseases than North America and Europe. How come? Why? I'm going to tell you what they are now. And this is the Health Caribbean Coalition that did this survey of the Caribbean countries. And they came up with this fact sheet on chronic non-communicable diseases. Here are the facts now. Facts. The Caribbean is one of the regions of the Americas most affected by the epidemic of chronic communicable diseases. 2. The leading cause of death in Caribbean countries is heart disease, cancer, strokes, diabetes, and hypertension. How come? How come? The leading cause of death in America is heart disease. The second leading cause of death in America is cancer. Over 500,000 people die from that disease. So how come we in the Caribbean now supposed to have a natural diet of fruits and vegetables, ground foods, and we come down with heart disease and cancer? Because we are incorporating another man's diet. And we were taught by Dr. Michael Tierra that once you are living in a climate and an environment, you have to eat the foods that are in your environment in order for it to correspond to your blood. So once you incorporate another man's diet, you're going to get another man's disease. And that's what's happening in the Caribbean. We are incorporating the American diet. So we are coming down with the American diseases. So, how come? And we have natural air. You don't find no trees in New York. Only buildings. We have all the fresh air, beaches, ground foods. But cancer and heart disease is the most prevalent diseases in the Caribbean countries. How come? Number 3. More than 50% of years of life lost in the Caribbean are due to what? Non-communicable diseases. Number 4, the age-adjusted rate of non-communicable diseases, mortality rate, death rate, are many times higher in the Caribbean countries than in North America and Europe. How come? How come, though? Number 5, 25% of Caribbean adults are obese, or more than 60% are what? Obese or overweight. How come? How come? Number 6, 20% of Caribbean adults have high blood pressure. How come? We have 17-year-old coming in with hypertension. We have 25-year-old and 20-year-old coming in with hypertension. How come? Number 7, 6%, 1 in every 16 people of the Caribbean adults have diabetes. How come? 1 in every 16, now to be 1 in every 5. Number 8, in at least 4 Caribbean countries, more than 10% of the population is living with diabetes. How come? How come? Because diabetes affects the nerves, the eyes, the kidneys. It affects the heart. And lots of people in Grenada is losing their hand, their fingers, their foot, their leg, their ears to diabetes. How come? How come? And we have all these ground foods over here. How come? Listen to this now. Number 8. Of the top 5 countries in the Caribbean, of the top 5 countries in the Americas, 4 prevalence of diabetes are found in the Caribbean countries. 4 countries. St. Lucia have the most diabetics, 1 in every 3 persons. Grenada, 1 in every 5 persons. Trinidad and Guyana have the most diabetics in the Caribbean countries. How come? And in the Americas, how come? Let's go again. Most Caribbean countries spend more than 60% of their health services budget on non-communicable diseases. How come? How come? Number 13. Most NCD'S and the risk factors, strokes, diabetes, and raised blood sugar, overweight, obesity, raised blood pressure and hypertension, physical inactivity, and social inequalities are more common among Caribbean women and men. How come? Because Caribbean women now are taking over from men drinking rum. They stop drinking the beers now because the beers make them pee in the streets. So they drink the rum now. And the rum cause lots of our Caribbean women, they're not only coming down with these non-communicable diseases now, but it caused breast cancer in our black women in the Caribbean. How come? Next one. Mortality death rate from breast cancer among Caribbean women is higher than in the other sub-regions of America. How come Caribbean women is coming up with more breast cancer than other Caribbean in Americas, in the American region? How come? How come? And we have all these natural foods. How come, Caribbean women? How come? And you're losing your breast and your life to cancer. How come? Next one. Estimated incidence of cervical cancer, which is a preventable disease in the Caribbean, was 35.8% per 100,000 women in the year of 2000. How come? Poverty. How come? HPV virus. How come? How come our Caribbean women and men and children and adults is coming out with all these diseases? How come? How come? Because we are incorporating somebody else's diet. And you have to eat what you grow, and you have to grow what you eat. And lots of our women in the Caribbean, might be something funny now, is coming in with breast cancer because they are eating in plastic bowls, drinking in plastic bottles, drinking water from the pipe. They are eating foods that is imported with chemicals and hormones and antibiotics and pesticides and herbicide, and then they put you at risk of getting cancer in your breast. So how come when we have all these natural foods over here to eat and all these natural herbs to use, how come our people in the Caribbean is coming in with all these non-communicable diseases? How come? So we now, I'm only one person. We have to make the change. We have to make the change. We have to educate our people, because education is the key and knowledge is power. So once our people in the Caribbean is educated in terms of not eating the next man diet, you will see heart disease, you will see cancer, you will see breast cancer, you will see diabetes complication will decrease, because now you are educated of eating what you grow and growing what you eat in terms of the climate that you live in and the environment to correspond to your blood. And once you know these things, nobody can come and fool you, because you were taught the right way. So now as Caribbean people, we have to learn to eat what we grow and grow what we eat. and make sure that our food is free from chemicals, and then you would never ever try to visit the casualty or a doctor's office on a regular basis. Give God the glory and the praise. Blessed love.